now, and welcome once more. The Alexandria mechanism holds countless records, some of fame, some of infamy, and some of exquisite human cunning. I am the Clockwork Archivist, the keeper of these echoes. Tonight, the gears turn to a peculiar entry in Dr. Watson's chronicles, one that brought Sherlock Holmes face to face with an intellect he found truly formidable. A case he called A Scandal in Bohemia. Let us settle into the quiet and allow the past to unfold. The story begins with a masked visitor. Dr. Watson recorded that. To Sherlock Holmes, Irene Adler was always the woman. Not for him, a sentimental love, but a profound respect for her mind, a mind that had once famously outmaneuvered his own. It was a cold, stormy evening when a most unusual client arrived at Baker Street. Holmes and Watson sat by the fire when a hansom cab pulled up outside. A tall, powerful man, muffled in a thick overcoat, entered. His face was hidden by a black visored mask, leaving only his piercing eyes visible. "You may speak freely," Holmes said calmly. "I perceive you are the king of Bohemia." The masked man started. "You have seen me, then?" "Hardly. Your accent, your bearing, the particular paper upon which your urgent summons was written, these speak volumes, and your incognito suggests royalty. The king of Bohemia, Wilhelm Gottsreich Sigismund von Ormstein, threw off his disguise. His face was indeed regal, but etched with worry. I am in a desperate plight, Mr. Holmes. My very kingdom, my reputation, all hangs by a thread." He explained his predicament. 5 years ago, he had been entangled with a young American opera singer, Irene Adler, in Warsaw. There had been letters and a photograph. Now he was to marry a Scandinavian princess, and the scandal of his past liaison could destroy the engagement and potentially lead to war. Irene Adler, now living in London, possessed a photograph of herself with the king. She threatened to send it to the princess on the day of the wedding. "We have tried everything," the king pleaded. "Burglary, hired roughs, even an offer of immense wealth. She refuses to sell. She keeps it hidden, a weapon against me." Holmes's eyes gleamed with interest. "This woman, she is formidable." "She has the face of an angel and the mind of a man," the king confessed. "What she wants I do not know, but I want that photograph, Mr. Holmes, before Monday next, or my kingdom is ruined." The pursuit. The next morning, Holmes began his investigation. He disguised himself as a drunken, unemployed groom. Watson watched as Holmes left, shuffling down Baker Street, a picture of believable despair. Hours later, Holmes returned, his disguise shed. He slumped into his chair, chuckling. "I have discovered much, Watson. This Miss Adler, she is extraordinary. I have been outmaneuvered by better brains than hers before, but rarely by a woman." He explained his day. He had mingled with grooms and coachmen near Irene Adler's house in Bryony Lodge. He learned that she was engaged to a lawyer, Godfrey Norton. Holmes then created a ruse. He orchestrated a staged brawl outside her house. When Irene Adler emerged to see what the commotion was, Holmes, in his disguise, feigned injury. Irene, a compassionate woman, took him inside. Once inside, Holmes had a clear view of her living room. As she tended to him, he saw a plume of smoke rise from an open window and instantly cried, "Fire!" It was a test. Holmes had watched Irene Adler's reaction. In that moment of panic, a woman's instinct is to snatch up her most precious possession. Irene Adler rushed not to jewels, but to a hidden recess near the bell pull, then stopped, realizing there was no fire. Holmes had seen enough. He knew where the photograph was hidden. "She is magnificent, Watson," Holmes exclaimed. "What a woman! We shall retrieve the photograph tonight." That evening, Holmes and Watson planned their retrieval. Holmes would create another diversion, while Watson would rush into the house As night fell, Holmes and Watson returned to Bryony Lodge. The streets were dark, and a chill wind whispered through the trees. They approached the house cautiously, their hearts pounding in anticipation. Suddenly, as they reached the gate, a carriage pulled up. Irene Adler emerged, accompanied by her new husband, Godfrey Norton. She greeted them with a confident smile, then entered the house. Holmes felt a flicker of surprise. This was unexpected. He had planned for a quick, decisive strike. He put his plan into motion. He threw a smoke rocket through a window, shouting, "Fire again!" Watson, as instructed, rushed into the house, heading directly for the hidden recess. But as Watson reached the spot, he found nothing. The recess was empty. A moment later, Irene Adler herself appeared. She stood in the doorway, a look of triumph in her eyes. "You tried, Mr. Holmes," she said, her voice calm and clear, "but I'm afraid you are too late." Holmes was speechless. He had been outwitted. Irene Adler then pulled a small, sealed envelope from her pocket and handed it to Holmes. "This is for you," she said, "a little memento." She then slipped away, entering the carriage with her husband, and they vanished into the night. Inside the envelope, Holmes found a photograph of Irene Adler alone in an evening gown, and a letter. The letter read, "My dear Mr. Sherlock Holmes, you have indeed done well. You followed me, you tricked me, and I admire your cleverness. I even saw through your fire ruse. I am gone now, married to a better man. The photograph of myself with the king is safe, and will remain so. I would never use it to harm His Majesty. I simply wish to keep it as a safeguard, should he ever think to act against me. You are a good man, Mr. Holmes, but the woman has outwitted you this time. Adieu, Irene Adler." Holmes read the letter in stunned silence. He had been so close, so certain, but Irene Adler had anticipated his every move. The King of Bohemia, when informed of the outcome, was relieved that the photograph would not be used against him. Though disappointed, it could not be recovered. Holmes had failed in his immediate mission, yet in a profound way, he had succeeded in safeguarding the king's future. Back in the familiar comfort of Baker Street, Holmes sat in a contemplative silence. Watson observed him, noting a rare expression of deep respect upon his face. "She outwitted me, Watson," Holmes admitted, a hint of admiration in his voice. "She saw through my disguise, knew my methods, and vanished with grace and dignity. Most men would have used such a weapon for revenge. She chose only to protect herself." Holmes glanced at the photograph of Irene Adler, which he had kept. It was a picture of a beautiful, intelligent woman. "Irene Adler," he murmured. "She is a glorious opponent. In my profession, Watson, I have met many brilliant minds, but she is the woman." The chronicle of a scandal in Bohemia is now concluded, the record sealed, a testament to a mind that proved to be more than a match for even the great Sherlock Holmes. Such an intellect holds its own unique place in the archives of history. If these quiet narrations from the Alexandria mechanism bring you peace or stir your thoughts, I invite you to subscribe and to activate the notification bell. The library is vast, and many more stories await their telling. Until next time, remain still and listen.